Bună ziua, sunt Alex Vlădescu, bine v-am găsit la o ediție specială aici la Blocul Național Sindical, o ediție specială pe canalul nostru de YouTube, în care vom discuta astăzi cu reprezentanții Federației Europene a Lucrătorilor din Transporturi. Așa că îi spun bun venit doamnei Livia Spera, secretar general la ETF, Federația Europeană a Lucrătorilor din Transporturi. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Thank you, because are you here today with us? So let's talk about transport. The first question for you is what major achievements of the ATF from recent years do you consider most relevant for transport workers?
So the last few years were quite challenging for transport workers, for workers in general, for Europe. But I think that as ETF we have achieved some challenges, and I would like to give a couple of examples. First of all, as you know, we work quite a lot with the European institution to try to shape legislation and to make sure that the proposals that are put on the table are favorable to workers. And one of our major achievements there was the mobility package, which is a package of measures that is regulating road transport and labor in road transport. As you know, there are a lot of mobile workers that are whose rights are often disregarded, and the mobility package is for us a good starting point for improving their working conditions. At the moment, we are still working on it because the package has been approved, is enforced, should be enforced, but the enforcement is not satisfactory yet. So we are trying to push with the European Labour Authority, national administration and the Commission to make sure that there are more controls and that the rules are actually implemented correctly. And only when this will happen, we will have a full victory there. Another big victory, I want to give an example that is very dear to my heart, is a win that we had in Czech Republic. Over the last few years, we have focused a lot of our work in Central and Eastern Europe, and one of the objectives was to help our members to be stronger and to be present in companies where they weren't present so far. And so we have helped our Czech Railway Union to win a collective bargaining agreement in a workplace for a quite big private railway operator, which is called Metrans. It was a very long fight, and it was a very big collective effort that we made, but finally we achieved something. But even then, we are not done yet, because now our objective is to make sure that the whole company is little by little covered by a collective bargaining agreement.
So it's about success.
Yes.
Another question for you is how do you see the future of the transport sector in the next 10 years maybe?
So this is a very difficult question because we see that the world is changing quite a lot, but what we saw over the last few years with the pandemic, with the war in Ukraine and with all the other geopolitical developments is that transport is essential. Without transport, the world stops, industrial production stops, our supermarkets would be empty, we wouldn't have essential goods and medicines. Yeah? So what happened over the last few years has put additional has put an highlight on the fact that transport is essential, and it's also given visibility to transport workers. Now, how it will change over the next few years, this is difficult to say. We know how we would like transport to change over the next few years. Over the next few years, we would like to see better working conditions in transport, because working conditions have been deteriorating for the last 30 years. And so there is a huge shortage of good jobs. People don't want to work in transport anymore. So in the future, we would like to have transport as a better place to work in order to attract especially women and young workers in the sector. But also there is a need to move towards sustainability, because transport is one of the biggest contributors to CO2 emission in the European Union, and therefore there should be a transition towards cleaner modes of transport. There should be a transition for all sectors towards a cleaner way of working. And obviously, we are in the middle of an industrial crisis in Europe, which means that also the needs for transport in terms of freight will change. if we are going to import more or less from China or from the US, and if the ways goods are produced in Europe will change, obviously the transport needs will also change. And definitely we would like to see more public transport in cities and in urban areas, but also in more peripheral areas. We would like to see less private cars and more public transport because it's more sustainable, obviously, and because everybody has the right to use efficient and affordable public transport.
And in Romania we need some eco-transport. Now, what message would you like to convey to the transport workers in Romania and by extension to the BNS members, because you are so rarely here in our country?
Yeah, certainly Romania is a big country and is a very important country for transport because there are so many transport workers in Europe that come from Romania and so many transport companies that are Romanian or multinational companies established in Romania. So it is essential for the ETF success that our Romanian members are fully involved. The message that I would give is that it's a message of unity. We need to be united because we have no choice, because the problems that Romanian transport workers are facing are the same that are faced by transport workers all over Europe, because we have more and more multinational companies, so we have often the same employers employing workers all over Europe. They know what they do, and we should also know and coordinate with each other. And also, most of the legislation applying to transport is decided in Brussels, which means that if we want to have legislation that is more favorable to workers, we also need to push all together in order for this legislation to be good.
And to support you from here with
yes,
ideas.
Because in Brussels we are pushing to have the workers' point of view into the policies and the legislations and the decisions that are taken, but there are many other organizations that have many more means than us that are pushing on the opposite side. And so our strength is the people we have, is not the money or the resources of the expensive consultants that employers can pay for. Our strength is the people that we have at workplace. And so a better connection between what we do at European level and the workplace is essential. And having Romanian workers on board is really essential for the work that you want to do in the future.
Thank you so much for this interview, Livia Spera, General Secretary of ETF. Livia Spera, secretar general al Federației Europene pentru lucrătorii din transporturi, a fost alături de noi pentru un interviu pe această temă, pentru a vedea cum evoluează până la urmă sectorul transporturilor, această industrie în ultimii ani, dar și despre ce realizări, ați auzit, au fost în acest domeniu în ultimii ani. Eu sunt Alex Vlădescu și vă mulțumesc pentru atenția acordată. Până data viitoare, numai bine!